Welcome back to Rise of the Kasai, where I just noticed that Tati has a horrifying amount of jiggle physics. Good God, this game is great. I love it. And I fear we might be surprisingly near the end of this level. Closer than I suspected. But maybe I'm wrong. I thought that last time as well. It was proven a fool. Rao's taking the top shelf again. He'll be able to do so much more effectively once I open that door for him. So I'm assuming that's my first priority. There we go. Get killing, big boy. While we're waiting for him to kill everybody, might as well pass the time with some murder of our own. It's proving surprisingly difficult. There we go. I'm gonna at least attempt some of these combos that I'm supposed to get. Okay. I feel like that one got interrupted. Either that or it's a very unimpressive animation. Yeah, that's about what it was. Alright. The switches wouldn't be so bad if there wasn't a cutscene every single time one got pulled. Pretty neat. Similar to the Fua Toko Fa Hu. Yes, that's the one. From Rao's list. Okay. Any further murder seems to be completely unnecessary at this point. Unless, of course, it is my murder. That would prove quite unfortunate. Alright, okay. There's Rao. He's waiting for me. Be nice if he helped. But whatever. I'm just gonna go join him. Or die trying. Shut at you.
The financial district was built like an ornate fortress. Its decorative facades covering buildings designed for battle. Wherever possible, we avoided combat, sneaking over roofs and through alleyways, but sometimes a brawl could not be avoided, and I watched as my companions gracefully dispatched Kasai guards before silently moving on.
I feel like Kuzo was watching another game. So I've just been bumbling around like a fool. Come on, Rao, you can do it. Nice. Looks like we got another one of these huge Hitman-esque areas. That's sort of what I feel is a major inspiration for the design of a lot of these levels. Doesn't often work as well as it did in Hitman, I find. I mean, it does have these large areas that are kind of fun to explore. Different enemies patrolling all around. But where Hitman had various goals, different ways to approach the situation, Rise of the Kasai has switches. Loads and loads of switches. It's much less interesting of a thing to be pursuing non-stop. Completely forget if we found a Tuku in the last section or not. Sort of hope we did, because my prevailing theory remains that there's a Tugu in every single section. Rao's being very effective. Not that we really need his help right now. He did shoot that one guy in the head. Kind of wanted to avoid using that perch, but it seems pretty necessary from where I'm standing. The guards tend to have pretty bad vision, which is good because this game isn't as reliant on corridors as the first game was. So you kind of have to approach guards from weird angles instead of just directly behind them. Very much in the style of stealth games that were considerably more popular than Mark of Kree. Mark of Kree was ridiculously simple with all of its stealth. It just happened to work because it was very finely tuned. It was able to break itself up pretty often. What the hell? How'd you see me? Oh, you saw Rao. Just when I thought Rao was getting some smarts. Weird thing I noticed about the Kamiyari that we're using right now. When you're not fighting anybody and just holding it, it's a stick. It has no blades whatsoever. Then when you start whipping it around, the blades just appear like magic. It's a spring-loaded spear thing. In other words, it makes no sense whatsoever. It's neat in a trivial sort of way, though. Large group of guys here. Smart person would scout ahead. I also noticed a health capacity increase rune back there, which I'll probably need. Yeah, it's a few too many guys to just attempt stealth, especially because one of them is facing towards us. Rao doesn't have any better plans, though. Might as well whip out the axe, because that's what it's coming to. Notice that Rao has not used his own axe once so far this level. So he could be a lot more helpful if he wanted to be. We'll try the puffers. I still don't have any real idea how they work. Seems like they have to land, then they'll start to ooze the green, and then they'll become effective. Then everyone will die. That's pretty cool, actually. I guess that's what we were supposed to do. And then I screwed it all up anyway. Sure hope Rao shows up and kills all those archers. Yep, sure would be nice to get rid of those archers. Okay, he's doing something at least. Yeah, armored enemies are still quite the roadblock even with the axe. Which is very much the case in the first game. Normally, anytime there was an armored enemy about, I'd have to do a full Fua Usu Urutu just to kill them. Quite inconvenient, especially in the arenas when they piled out like hundreds of armored enemies. Who needs Rao to get rid of the archers, though? You could just jib them, because why not? Seems like that's what Rao's supposed to be doing. But his continued refusal is not a death sentence, at least. It's weird the AI in this game, particularly Rao's, because it always has an assignment, something that it's supposed to be doing, but it gets very, very easily distracted. Then it'll just go off and do whatever he wants. Usually it involves fighting some thug on the ground. Occasionally it involves just running back and forth or firing every single one of his arrows into the ocean. Speed advantage is working against me here. Just to say their speed advantage. These armored guys went down like chumps, though. So much for whatever I was saying before. But of course, there's a million reinforcements. Excuse me, gentlemen. Wooden walls. Oh, great. Now Rao's taking damage. I do not have a clearly defined goal in mind. There's no archers, so I can't do too much to help Rao out. Unless there are archers. Looks like there's a lower level between myself and the bottom level. Complicated area design, which is not working out very well with the relatively poor AI of my partner. Seems like exactly the sort of game that should have co-op, what with the two player characters wandering about at all times. However, not an option. It actually would be quite impressive if they did pull that sort of thing off, since the various characters are pretty complicated in their movement patterns. I think it would be a lot to ask to put multiplayer into this game at all times, but would have been really, really cool if they had. So I guess Rao's taken to his stealth attempt once again, despite everyone being dead. I really wish he would just shoot that guy in the head right now. Would make my life a lot easier. Another problem with the vast sprawling areas they've worked into this game is the relatively poor movement speed of both player characters. They didn't put in a ton of shortcuts either. It occasionally feels like I'm just going the wrong way, and if that happens to be the case, I'm wasting a few minutes. The original game, wasting a few minutes wasn't all that big of a deal because the game was intentionally very slow-paced. This one seems to be going for a much faster pace, and it occasionally breaks that pace with, for example, having to wander across that whole area to get that switch. Now let's see. That hornblower's got to be somewhere. I think Rao killed that guy for us. Haha. Who needs stealth? It's unfortunate that I have to say this so often, but this game is pretty fun. I wouldn't want to do an LP of a game that was just a complete drag, which this luckily is not at all. But I don't know where that door is. That sort of limits my fun at the moment. Oh, I remember now. It's all the way back at the top level. Again, a bit more in the way of indication of how we should approach each area. Would go a long, long way. I feel like if I played through each area with both characters over and over again, then sort of reverse engineered the correct way that I should do everything, things might go a little more smoothly. That merely assumes, though, that the level design in this game is actually brilliant and would work if I did so. Sort of a lofty assumption at the moment. I mean, if the level design really were that good, you'd think they'd at least bother to present it in the sort of order that would make sense to a first-time player. I doubt this is going to work. Yeah, it's not anywhere near anyone. But it worked anyway. Fascinating. Learning a lot about the puffers. Tati's pretty sadistic with that ground impale. She actually does impale them with the axe. Which is ludicrously excessive, but pretty cool. While I'm here. Why does absolutely every door need at least 2 switches? It's like they wanted every level to feel like Ratutusai from the very end of Mark of Kree. But the thing about that level is that it was the last level in the game, and there had been huge build-up to it. You can't really start a game that way.
Inside the vault, we found the mark of Omu. But it was not on a scroll as we had expected. It was on the back of a living child. Having to guide a terrified infant through the flames of battle was not what anyone expected. Praise the gods for whatever blessing they gave us that day. Tati comforted the child, sharing a bond that all the marked felt. In a way, they were family, both cursed and shunned by the world.
Looks like the first successful life-saving attempt by Rao. Since Tati, at least. It turns out we were pretty close to the end of that level.
The palace of Yolomebisi.
I am worried about the kind of jokes I'm going to have to avoid going into this next level.
Igua Hatu.
And I missed a Tuku. Good news all around. But that was a perfectly fine level. Ended very abruptly. I was pretty surprised that it just stopped. But it's over. A few places worked very well, and I'm going to have to go through the challenges once again. So wish me luck with that, and enjoy the final Tuku that we missed. Next time,
The palace of Yolomebisi.
thank you, Oracle. And it turns out the final Tuku is in the very end of Rao's path, in that area with the repeated arenas. Easiest way to get it as Tati is to go up the ladder that Rao descends to get to the success circle, and loop around, grab it all the way in the back corner.